Hello, friends. Keith Mondillo here. This is our first episode of our series, The Athletic Recruiting Roadmap. Been a head coach at the NCAA level for 30 years and an athletic administrator for 28 of those 30. I've helped countless student athletes navigate this process, and it's difficult for families who don't know what they're doing. It's difficult for student athletes to know where to start and how to begin. Since this is our first episode, we're going to get really basic. We're going to talk about some myths that keep student athletes stuck, what coaches actually look for, and the number one mistake athletes make that kill their chances of getting recruited. So we're going to touch on those three things today in the video. But before we do that, if you're serious about getting recruited, download my free guide. It's the Athletic Recruiting Roadmap. It's just a 10-step jumpstart. It's a simple PDF. I'm going to link the description down below, and you can just log on and you'll get it right away. So let's just jump in right now. Let's just talk about college recruiting. And coaches, when they start recruiting, they think that recruiting's easy, and student athletes think if I'm good, talent alone is going to get me recruited. Let's be clear about one thing. And being a great athlete helps. Don't get me wrong. But that's not enough. The reality is there's thousands and thousands of athletes out there that are talented, that are competing for a limited amount of spots. And we'll get to this later when we talk about the new NCAA house settlement, what that means for Division I rosters, and how that trickles down to the Division II and III level. What's your strategy? You need to keep active. You need to keep reaching out. You need to continuously contact coaches, attend the right events, follow up consistently. Talent gets your name in the conversation, but effort and exposure seal the deal. Highlight videos and stats, yes, that works. There's some other things that you need to take in consideration. And sending a highlight video, like I said, or listening to their stats won't get them recruited. Your video is just a tool. It's how you follow up and engage with coaches that really matters. Coaches, they want to see full game footage. They want to know who you are as a person and see how you fit into their programs. Just don't rely on stats. You're going to have to continue to start building relationships. Athletics at the Division III and II level, there's a fine line between those athletes. So getting on a coach's radar and developing that relationship is important. Another big problem or a myth would be that most athletes are waiting too long to start. I get phone calls all the time. Coach Keith, where do I begin? And this is from a parent whose son or daughter is entering their senior year. So if you're not actively reaching out to schools by your sophomore year or your junior year, you're behind. And in some sports, they have commitments as early as sophomore and junior year. So if you're serious, you have to start now. There's no better time to start but now. And then you are your best recruiter, not your high school coach. Common misconception a lot is that your high school coach or club coach will do the recruiting for you. And that's just not the case. While they can help you, the truth is it's your job to take control. Coaches, we get hundreds of calls and emails on a yearly basis. You need to be the one reaching out and following up and making sure that you stay on a coach's radar. That's important. That's the most important thing. And now scholarships are limited. With roster limits, like I mentioned earlier with the house settlement, there's going to be a ton of Division I athletes that need to find a home. And they're going to take up roster spots at other institutions, and it's just going to roll downhill. Division II and III, it's just going to get harder and harder. With the transfer portal, there's a lot of things that go against the high school student athlete. And I'll give you an idea. Talking to some of our coaches, especially men's basketball, they always talk about how they recruit. And the first thing they do every year is they re-recruit their players. In March, when their season's over, they sit down and they talk to their players at their one-on-one meetings, and they want to find out who's back and who's ready to enter the transfer portal. So that's one. Recruiting their own students is number one. Number two is the transfer portal. Obviously, in every sport, the transfer portal is key. Men's basketball, football, as the athletic director, I tell all our coaches to actively recruit the transfer portal because you automatically get students that are ready to play right away. And then in a lot of sports like football, men's basketball, the next level is junior college. So you have to understand that as a high school senior, you have coaches recruiting their own players, you have coaches recruiting the portal, you have coaches recruiting junior college, and then lastly, coaches recruit high school players. So it's so important that you start this process early. Just looking through some notes, the differences between divisions 1, 2, and 3. Division 1, mostly scholarships. You have a certain amount of sports that are required to give full rides, but that's all going to change. It's going to change in the next couple of years in how the NCAA dictates through court decisions how things are going to pan out during the recruiting process. Division 2 is limited. They can split scholarships, and obviously Division 3 is academic based, need based, financial aid grants. It's all merit based awards. You have to do a really good self-assessment on yourself. You have to be honest about your athletic ability. Are you a dominant player on your varsity team? Are you competing in high-level showcases? If you're struggling to stand out in high school, you probably won't be a Division I player. It's just fact. It's just a simple fact that you're probably not going to be a Division I player. So you need to get feedback from real coaches. You need to get feedback from your high school coach and your club coach to find out where they think you fit. Because you might not fit at some low-level Division I. You might be better off at a Division II, and you might not be able to play at Division II. You could play at a high Division III. Look at which schools are actually recruiting you, and don't mistake the level for the quality of the program. If you're not being recruited by Division I schools, expand your list of schools that you're looking at. Start thinking about other areas. Start thinking about Division II, Division III. Get your name out there. If coaches don't know who you are and you're not getting recruited, you need to take action. You need to make sure that you initiate contact. I say it all the time. I coach college basketball. You go to a big gymnasium or a convention center, there's 30 courts inside. 30 courts. Where's a coach going to say, I'm going to go to court 24 at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. and find my next player? That's just not going to happen. You're going to have to find out. You're going to have to find out who's interested in you. And then you're going to have to make sure that they understand where you're playing, what jersey you are, all that stuff. All right, let's talk about coaches recruit the right player, just not the best player. The truth about college recruiting is coaches pass on talent all the time. They pass on talent because maybe they thought a kid had a bad attitude or their work ethic was terrible. Maybe their grades were a big issue. And then the one thing that I keep telling our student athletes is body language. Your body language dictates a lot of things. But as a coach, I want to recruit players that I can trust. Just not in the game. I need someone who's always going to go to class. I need someone who's always going to do things that are representing their program, the institution, in a positive light. So let's talk about what coaches really look for in a recruit. One is, like we said before, it's work ethic. Are you putting in the extra work when no one's watching? Do you push yourself? Or are you one of those players who just makes excuses? You got to be coachable. Coachability, how you respond when a coach gives you feedback. Do you listen? Do you apply what they're saying? Do you roll your eyes? When we're evaluating at AAU events and club events, we're all taking this stuff in. Your academics. We eliminate a lot of recruits for the simple reason of their academics just aren't there. And by not having good academics, it limits the amount of schools that you can apply to. The bottom line is, or the ground floor, I should say, is getting good grades. The whole purpose of you going to college is to get a degree. Ask yourself this: am I putting in the work every day? Am I coachable? Do I constantly push back when coaches give me feedback? Are my grades good enough? And body language. So those are the things I really want you to totally understand how recruiting works. And some of the takeaways in this video, 3 big truths about recruiting. Just to go over this again. 1, recruiting just doesn't happen. You have to take action. If you're sitting back and you're waiting for coaches to find you on court 24 at 8 a.m. in the Atlantic City Convention Center, it's just not going to happen. Athletes who get recruited are the ones who take control of their processes. And you need to be realistic. The second thing is you need to be realistic about your level. If you don't know the level that you think you can compete at, you're probably going to lose out on a lot of opportunities that you pass on. I'll give you an example. My first year in college, I played for an NAI institution, which was equivalent to an NCAA Division II school. Great experience, great program, great coach. I just wasn't good enough. I laugh. I said I was the sixth guard on a five-guard rotation team, and I was never going to play. I transferred to a Division III school for my last 3 years, and I had a tremendous experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. So you need to be realistic. And then, again, coaches recruit players with the right intangibles, just not talent. Being talented enough is just not good enough. You need work ethic, you need academics, you need attitude, coachability. Just as important as your skills, all those other intangibles really count. If you're missing those, you really need to understand what you're up against. So here's the good news. If you take these truths seriously and apply them, I always say you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else. If you have an idea of where you belong in the recruiting process and you work hard on all the things we talked about, you're going to get recruited. As long as you contact coaches, as long as you initiate it, you have to take control of your recruiting journey. You don't need to be the best player in the country. You just need to be proactive, informed, and ready to put in the work. So there's a lot of things that we're going to go over. This is our first video. Quite frankly, I probably could have gone over a million other things. But if you want to take your recruiting seriously and you want to get recruited, take one step. Go to the notes and download my free guide. It's a 10-step jumpstart to the athletic recruiting roadmap. It'll give you an idea of where to start, what to do. Quite frankly, if you're a junior and you haven't done anything, you need to get through steps 1 through 5 immediately. I appreciate your time. Again, we're going to have several other videos, and hopefully you get something out of what we teach and something out of your journey in the recruiting process. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.